Hello, I'm Beth, and this is Social Leopards. Today's episode is about feelings that make you want to go and that's through the topic of awe, A-W-E, awe. I am so thrilled to share an awesome article about how vast the universe is in comparison to little old us. I found it uplifting and inspiring, and I hope you do too. Caitlin McColl is a creator I found on Substack.com, where she has a really great and free account titled Dose of Wonder. Check out the show notes for the link. Huge shout out to Caitlin for allowing me to read it today here on Social Leopards. This piece is titled The Psychology of Awe, Why We Crave What Makes Us Feel Small. It is number 1 in a 15-part series called Psychology Meets Wonder. So if you love what you hear today, make sure to go to her page and subscribe so you can read articles 2 through 15. Okay, let's get started. Have you ever stood under a night sky so vast and full of stars it made you feel small and a feeling well up in you? Or maybe you've watched someone do something so inspiring that that same feeling filled your chest? That strange feeling, that body tingle of awareness, that's awe. And it's more powerful than we give it credit for. Awe, scientifically speaking. In psychology, awe is defined as the emotional response we feel when we encounter something vast beyond our current frame of reference, like looking up at a sky crammed with stars, something that forces us to pause, reorient, and expand our perspectives. It can be evoked by the grandness of a mountain, the intricacy of a spider's web, the swell of a symphony, or the resilience of a stranger. It makes us feel small, but in the best way possible. According to research from Dr. Dacher Keitner at UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center, I'll call him the father of awe research. Awe is one of the most profound human emotions, and it's not just a poetic flourish. It literally rewires how we move through the world. Side note, check out Dacher's great podcast, The Science of Happiness. In studies, people who experienced awe were more likely to feel connected to others, be generous and helpful, experience a sense of timelessness, report lower stress and greater life satisfaction. It shrinks the ego, slows time, and softens fear. It makes room for something bigger than our to-do list. Why we crave it, especially now. In our modern hustle culture obsessed with being in control, that's me to a T, and productivity, awe reminds us of the importance of not knowing. It says, there is still mystery in the world. There is still beauty you didn't manufacture. There is still more than a you that's bigger than you. And in times of grief, burnout, or self-doubt, awe is a gentle recalibration, something that doesn't demand answers, only attention. It reconnects us to what's real and true. Awe asks us to look up, look outside of ourselves, not in, not to bypass our pain, but to remember we're not the only person or being in the room. Everyday awe, you don't need a glacier. Here's the cool thing about awe. It doesn't require plane tickets or grand revelations. Granted, when I was standing on a glacier in Alaska many years ago as part of a cruise excursion, it was awe-inspiring. But it can also be found in the little, ordinary, everyday things, and we should remind ourselves of that. Like trying to wrap your head around the mind-blowing unknowableness of the universe. Sunlight hitting the rear light of your car, causing a brilliant red light to shine across your ceiling. Coming across the exact lyric you needed to hear today. The generosity of a stranger. your own breath reminding you that you're alive, that you exist. In fact, researchers say we can build an awe habit just by paying attention. You might try taking an awe walk. Slow, curious, no gadgets. Letting music move you without multitasking. Looking at the stars with your full presence. Reading a poem out loud, even just to your plants. Noticing what still surprises you. The more you seek awe, the more it shows up. Awe is a portal. Awe doesn't solve everything and make everything rainbows and unicorns, but it shifts something in us. It softens our grip on who we think we have to be and interrupts the scrolling, the spiraling, the scarcity mindset that can often have in today's world of comparison. It reminds us we belong to a much wider, deeper world. And sometimes, when we feel most lost or worn out, a little moment of awe is enough to remind us that we're still here. The world is still turning. There's still wonder to be found. It hasn't left, not even a little bit. I'll end with a small practice. Take 5 minutes today. Step outside or stare out a window. Don't try to feel anything. Just notice. Let awe do what it does best. Imperceptibly change you for the better. If this letter found you at the right time, feel free to share it with someone who might need a little wonder today. The end. So, here are my thoughts on this beautifully written piece about the transformative power of awe. It's a gentle reminder that awe doesn't fix everything, but it does have the power to help us make small shifts that can soften our grip on rigid identities or quiet the relentlessness of noise, that noise of comparison that often fills and sometimes overwhelms our lives. Let's see, Caitlin speaks to those moments when we feel lost or worn out, and how even the smallest experience of awe, standing under the vast sky, noticing a bird in flight, gazing out the window, these things can anchor us. It's these moments that remind us of our place in this ginormous world and how noticing these things can make a difference. I actually have a little memory about also taking a cruise to Alaska, which my husband and I took with his parents. We had an excursion at every port except for one. And I remember walking past a little tourist shop doing these little trips to step out onto a glacier. And I specifically remember it was like either $10 or $20 a person. So I guess that's not real specific. But anyway, but nothing nearly as expensive as the float plane trip or the train trip that we took. And my hubby's father made a comment that it was a waste of his money just to walk on some ice. He had also declined that float plane ride, which was earlier in the trip, and turned out to be the absolute highlight of our trip. And because I didn't want to leave my mother-in-law behind again, I ultimately talked my husband into staying with her instead of taking that little excursion. Immediately upon reboarding the cruise ship, I felt this pang of regret. I'm likely never going back to Alaska, so that opportunity was one that was missed. Reading that line about the awe of being on a glacier obviously brought it all back to me. I still did experience many moments of awe during that particular trip, so it wasn't a total loss, but I now think back and wonder why I bothered to let one little penny pinching comment make the decision for me. A couple of years later, we went to Hawaii with my in-laws again. And believe me, I did not repeat that error. We did what we wanted to do, and we allowed them to book what they wanted to book. And we met back up late each afternoon and spent the evenings together. Lesson learned, anyway. I love how this piece encourages a simple but impactful practice. Taking just those 5 minutes to spend time without any expectations, letting awe do its subtle work of rewiring our perspective for the better. It's about inviting wonder to find us. Thanks one more time to Caitlin for this wonderful article. I'm reading the entire series and it never disappoints. So much to reflect upon each time I visit her page. Now, I think that's about all I have to say on that. Yes, it is. So let's move on to next week. Next week, I will be sharing a story from Anton Volney, and the topic of the day will be one that's also pretty popular on social media, and it's gaslighting. Until then, take a moment to pause for the awe. It's amazing what it can do. Take care, everyone.